It is all about lamb today in the sartorial kitchen. I'm starting off with a classic lamb stew. Then it's a romaine salad with a Romano dressing and croutons, a classic bread pudding, and salted caramel to go on top. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Back to the sartorial kitchen, everybody. Yes, we are doing lamb or sheep today. I'm starting with a bread pudding. And you're thinking, why a dessert? Because we are nose to tail cooking. So I've got some sheep's milk here, and that's going to be our dairy for the bread pudding. So of course we're starting with our eggs. I always start with the eggs. So we can check for eggshells, any bad eggs. And we need 4 eggs for that. Then for the rest of our wet ingredients here, this is evaporated sheep's milk. If you can't find that, you can use regular evaporated milk. And it's in the baking aisle. Okay, so we're just gonna dump this right in. I'm gonna save about 1/4 of this for our salted caramel. All right, that's good. And then we'll use some heavy whipping cream to finish out our liquid here. So that's 2 cups total. 1.5 cups of the sheep's milk and then 1/2 cup of the heavy cream. And I'm just going to come in here and give this a little whisk, break up those yolks. All right, that's good. That goes right into our mixing bowl. Then I want some vanilla. A teaspoon of vanilla. 1/2 teaspoon of almond. And for our sugar, white sugar, brown sugar, a cup each. And remember to pack the brown sugar when you're measuring it out so you get an accurate measurement. And again, just stir that up so the sugar is nice and dissolved into everything here. Okay, that is our custard. Now let's talk bread. I've got some brioche here. These are brioche buns. And you can use the loaf or whatever you can find. This happened to be on sale, and so we're just cutting it into cubes. I figured it would be just fine. Let me get my bread knife here so that's more evenly. So I got 2 packages. We're going to use about 1.5 packages here for the bread pudding. The rest we're going to use to make some croutons for a salad that is going to have Romano dressing. So once they're cut up, and you can pull them apart if they're sticking together, and it just goes right into the custard. We want it to give it plenty of time to soak. Okay, so that's the last of our bread. I'm just going to come in here with my whisk. Just gently press this down into the custard so it all soaks in there nicely. And if you pour it out into our baking dish, this is just a greased 13 by 9. I'm just going to pour that right in here. And then just kind of spread that out. And we want to make sure that bread is nice and submerged. It's okay if some of it's sticking up, because that's just going to give us some nice little crusty bits on our topping. So one last thing, some butter, and I'm using cold butter here. And I'm just going to cut little slivers here. And then just kind of lay them on top, space them out about maybe 1 inch apart. And that's just going to really give us a nice golden brown topping on some of these pieces that are sticking out. All right, and I'd say this is ready to go in the oven. I've already preheated it to 375. It's going to bake for about 45 to 50 minutes, just until it's cooked through, and we can begin our stew. All right, guys, we are back. So I've got my soup pot out. I've already got a couple tablespoons of olive oil in there. We're going to add a couple tablespoons of butter. We do the olive oil for the burning temp, the butter for the flavor. And now for our lamb. This is just lamb stew meat, or lamb for diced lamb. We're going to start with it first. So I'm going to get a nice sear on it. So we're just going to break it up into individual pieces. And we're going to begin that seasoning process. So we've got some salt here. Generous amount of salt. A generous amount of pepper. I just want to get a nice sear on this. Get it coated in all that butter and oil. We're get a nice sear on all sides, then we'll take it out and we'll start building our flavors. And then throw it back in and let it stew. All right, you can see here that meat has browned nicely. So we're gonna go ahead and start taking it out. I've got a little towel here just to get the meat onto. Now it looks like it's nice and cooked through, but it is not. It's very tough still. And we want this to be a nice tender stew. But we are ready to develop the rest of our flavors here. So once we've got all this out, we're going to throw in our onion. So I've got some minced onion here. I'm going to turn this down slightly. And then I've also got some minced garlic. So it's just one whole onion and about a tablespoon of garlic. Very quickly here because we do not want this to burn, but you can see the onion releases its juices and it pulls up all those brown bits from the meat, so it gets nice and flavorful. This only takes about a minute before it burns. We don't want it to burn. And we're going to continue here with our flavors here. Some tomato paste, a couple tablespoons of tomato paste. I use the paste because I really like that concentrated tomato flavor. And just stir that in, just so it kind of gets nice and toasted. And wine, red wine here. I'm using a Pinot, so it has some fruitiness to it, but it's also on the drier side. We're going to do about 2 cups of that, or about half the bottle. And we let that reduce so we get that lovely flavor of the wine, but we don't have all of that alcoholic taste. Okay, so after about 5 minutes or so, you'll notice that really harsh smell of the alcohol of the wine goes away, so then we can add our broth here. And we're doing a whole container of beef broth. And we will match that with equal parts water. Now we can add our meat back in. And I like to use the towel so I can gently plop this in without making a mess. Just kind of stir that around. And then lastly, some herbs. I got a generous sprig of thyme and a generous sprig of rosemary and about 3 bay leaves. And then I'm going to turn this down to a medium heat and we will cover it and we will let it stew, and then we've got some veggies we're going to add to it later. Alright, welcome back everybody. Wow, our stew continues to cook down. We're going to work on a dressing for our salad. So I'm starting with a couple tablespoons of lemon juice. That's going to give us a nice acidity. You could use some kind of vinegar too if you'd like, but I really like my citrus. And then for some sweetness, a couple tablespoons of honey. For a little kick here, we're going to do about a teaspoon of mustard. And then we're going to come in with a little olive oil and just kind of stir this up as we do. And the mustard helps emulsify this dressing. The mustard and the oil. All right, come in here and stir this up. Break up that honey and the Dijon and the oil. That looks pretty good now, doesn't it? But we are not finished yet. This is a Romano dressing. So I'm also going to throw in some salt here to balance out the sweetness. And I also want some pepper. And we're going to do just a little more oil here. We want about a 1/4 cup total. Stir that together. Ah, there we go. Now this is going to be a nice creamy dressing here in a second as we add our Romano, and I'm just going to grade this right in. About half this block, the rest we'll save as a cheese garnish for the salad itself. All right, that's about that block or a 1/2 cup. I'm just going to kind of stir that in a little. But I want this to be well incorporated. So I've got my immersion blender here. We're just going to come in here and give this a little puree just to really break up that cheese. Really incorporate it into the rest of this dressing. Well, that looks pretty good. And then we can give it a little taste here. Nice and sweet and acidic. And you get that richness from the cheese. Yeah, I'm really enjoying that, guys. So we'll put that up. We can work on our croutons now. All right, now it's time to get our croutons going. So there's the rest of my brioche from earlier that I also just diced into nice little bite-sized pieces. Go ahead and break this up into nice little cubes. Beautiful, yes. Okay, so a few things here to turn this bread into croutons. First, a nice healthy drizzle of olive oil. That's going to really help it brown nicely in our toaster oven. And I'm going to come in with a nice sprinkling of our garlic salts. And then we come in here with some more of our Romano cheese. Just a nice little zhuzh all over the top. Just enough that you know it's there. And we'll come in here with some clean hands and toss all this together just so we make sure everything is nicely coated in all of this. I'm going to throw it in my toaster oven on a medium setting for about 8 to 10 minutes or just until they're nice and golden brown. And speaking of golden brown, I think our bread pudding is about ready to come out of the oven. All right, let's have a looky-see here. Oh yes, look at that. Nice and firm. It's just got a little bit of brown on top. That is gorgeous. I'm gonna set this on this rack to let it cool underneath so it'll come out nicely. And then we've got a salted caramel that's gonna go on top. All right, let's give our stew a little looky-see here. Yes, it's bubbling away nicely. I'm gonna go ahead and turn that down slightly lower here. Give this a little stir. Beautiful. Now we can go ahead and add our veggies. So this is high-low cooking. So you know we have the wine, we have the lamb. Now we're using frozen veggies. What I like about the frozen veggies, they've already been prepped for you. So I've got some carrots, just sliced carrots, some pearl onions here. I really think they're best because they get nice and tender and they absorb all this wonderful broth. And if you want to use fresh, more power to you. I do not feel like peeling and blanching a bunch of carrots. And then we're going to throw in some potatoes as well. Just some canned potatoes and give that a little stir. And what's nice about all these veggies, they've already been prepped and cooked, so they just have to come to temp. So about 10 minutes or so, and then we will take out our bay leaf and our herbs and we will be ready to dig in. That sound means that our croutons are finished. And Don't those look amazing, nice and golden browned. Now we can put our salad together. So here's our wonderful dressing from earlier. I always like to start with the dressing, and then I just drop in the lettuce, and then you can toss it all together, and it gets nice and coated. And then you don't have to worry about not having enough dressing or having too much dressing. Nothing worse than an overdressed salad. This bowl is the perfect size. Lid goes right on top. Turn this upside down and turn it all around and give it a good shakety shake shake. And that is our salad. 2 bowls here, one for the stew, one for the salad. We will have our salad first. Take my tongs here and just plate up a nice little portion of the salad. And some of our delicious croutons, because that is the best part, of course. And this time I'm going to take my little shaver here and just get some nice, big, thick shavings of our Romano cheese on top. All right, guys, time to dig in and give this a little taste. I just want to make sure I get a nice bite of everything here. Crouton and the dressing. So good. So immediately you hear the crunch of those croutons. The creaminess of that dressing. I'm getting the Dijon, I'm getting the Romano. And even just the Romano by itself here. So good. Nutty, kind of like a Swiss. Kind of like a cross between Swiss and Parmesan. It's really a sheep's milk version of Parmesan. Because again, we're doing sheep today. So good though. So I'm gonna finish this up, and I think we should be ready to finish up our stew. All right, let's give this a looky-see here. Ah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's give a little stir here. Yeah, you can see those onions have cooked down nicely. The carrots and the potatoes, they're just really drinking up that broth, getting nice and tender and flavorful. So first things first, we're gonna pull out our thyme. We're gonna pull out our rosemary. I'm gonna see if we can find our bay leaves. The stems and the leaves are not edible, so we want to take those out. And there is our last leaf. Now you're probably saying to yourself, this looks more like a soup and not a stew because it's still a little brothy, and you are right, but we are going to do something about that. I've got some butter here, about 2 tablespoons of room temperature butter, and then we're going to take equal parts flour, about a couple tablespoons of flour, and we're going to explore where chemistry and cooking meet. So we're going to mash this up just until the butter and flour are incorporated, and it should make like a nice little paste. Beautiful, look at that. Now, watch how fast this works. So we're going to take our mixture here and dump it right in. Make sure we get all of that out of there. And then we come in here, give it a little stir, and what happens is the butter slowly melts and just evenly disperses that flour. You can see it happening now throughout the stew. And it only takes about a minute or 2. And your broth will thicken right before your very eyes. You just want to stir so it doesn't hit the bottom of the pan and burn. Yeah, and then there we go. Our soup broth is now becoming a lovely stew. All right. Yeah, this is nice and thickened now. We're going to finish it off with just a little salt. and a little pepper. I always wait till the last minute to do my salt and pepper final seasonings. If you do it while it's still reducing, you're going to lose that flavor. So I always throw it in last. And we'll go ahead and turn this off. And we'll come in here and just get a nice ladle full here of everything. Our meat, potatoes, and onions and carrots. And some of that delicious broth. Mmm. Now that is a hearty stew. Let's come in here and give it a taste, shall we? First, I just want to come in here and get some of this broth. Oh, so flavorful. I'm tasting those herbs immediately. I get the onion, I get the garlic, I get the hint of wine from that Pinot we added at the beginning, and the tomato. Now let's come in here with a little bit of everything here. Potatoes are nice and soft, tender. Meat's like butter, just melts in your mouth. That's why we let it cook as long as we do. And then the onions, everything just comes together nicely. That broth though, that's really the kicker. Well, we'll clean this up and then we can finish off our dessert. All right, everybody, on to probably the most exciting part. The caramel for our bread pudding. So I'm doing a salted caramel. I need a cup of sugar for that. Just 4 ladlefuls of this. And then we're just gonna spread that out. The trick to caramel is having the right temp on the sugar. Some people scorch their sugar, some people don't have the sugar hot enough, or they don't let it reduce. So I throw this in usually while the skillet is still getting warm. And we're just gonna let that sugar slowly dissolve. It'll start to caramelize a little, and then it'll start to clump. And you're thinking you're burning it. No, keep it going. It's eventually going to melt back into itself and just get nice and thick and syrupy, and then we'll finish it off here. All right, see, it's starting to melt, but we still got some of the sugar there. And I'm turning it down to a little bit lower here. And we're stirring that sugar into itself. And you can see it's still kind of clumping a little bit. So we want to just keep stirring here until everything is nice and melted. And we are right there, so we're gonna come in here. And I've got some butter, room temp butter. We're gonna throw right in. About 6 tablespoons. And first we let this melt. And that sugar is gonna bubble up a little bit. That is fine. And then lastly, some room temp cream or milk. Heavy cream's best, evaporated milk. We are, of course, using the rest of our sheep's milk. That smells amazing, guys. We're just gonna throw the rest of that in. That's about a 1/4 cup, which is what we need. And then you're gonna turn that heat off. And then that sugar's just gonna slowly melt here into our cream. And just get nice and just come into a nice little thickened caramel sauce. All right, this is thickened nicely. We're gonna slide it off and cut us a nice little piece here. I'm gonna take the corner of all those lovely little crusty bits. Just come right up under there and voila. Then we'll come in here with our spoon and get us some of that luscious caramel. And I just like to drizzle the plate, really make it look fun and decadent. And I would say we are ready to, let's give us a little taste here. Look at that, so decadent. Nice and soft and tender. You can get the crunch on top. The vanilla, the almond, and that caramel is just so decadent. Just the teeniest bit of funkiness from that sheep's milk. Well, I'm gonna finish up here. But I want to thank you guys once again for joining me. As always, like and subscribe. Hit me up in the comment section. And until next time, bon appetit.